Hi kids, thank you for joining me today. Today for story time, we're going to read about the Good Shepherd. And that's David the Shepherd King from Psalms 51, 2 Samuel 7, a paraphrase of Psalm 23. David was a shepherd, but when God looked at him, he saw a king. Sure enough, when David grew up, that's just what he became, and David was a great king. He had a heart like God's heart, full of love. Now that didn't mean that he was perfect because he did some terrible things. He even murdered a man. No, now David made a big mess of his life, but God can take even the biggest mess and make it work in his plan. I need a new heart, Lord, David prayed, because mine is full of sin. Make me clean inside. God heard David's prayer. He forgave David and made David a promise. I will make you great, and one day a king will be born into your family, and he will heal the whole world. Did you know that David was a songwriter too? In fact, his songs were so good that they might have even topped the 40 charts, if they even invented back then. Now, David's songs are like prayers. They are called psalms, in fact, and this one is called the Song of the Shepherd. It's probably number one of all the Psalms charts, and it goes like this. God is my shepherd, and I am his little lamb. He feeds me, he guides me, he looks after me. I have everything I need. Inside my heart is very quiet as lying still in soft green grass, in a meadow, by a little stream. Even when I walk through the dark, scary, lonely places, I won't be afraid because my shepherd knows where I am. He is here with me. He keeps me safe. He rescues me. He makes me strong and brave. He is getting wonderful things ready for me, especially for me. Everything I ever dreamed of. He fills my heart so full of happiness, I can't hold it inside. Wherever I go, I know God's never stopping, never giving up, unbreaking, always and forever, love will go to. God gave David that song to sing to his people so they could know that he loved them and would always look after them, like a shepherd loves his sheep. And one day, God was going to do something that would inspire thousands upon thousands of songs. God was going to show his people once and for all just how much he loved them. Another shepherd was coming, a great shepherd. He would be called the Good Shepherd. And this shepherd was going to lead all of God's lambs back to the place where they had always belonged, close to God's heart. Well, this concludes our story time, boys and girls. Thank you for coming today.
Wow, boys and girls. David was a shepherd boy and he became a king. So a shepherd is somebody who takes care of sheep. That's pretty cool. David was a shepherd boy. He was a poet, a songwriter. But the biggest thing that Miss Fran shared with us is that David had a heart like God's heart. It was full of love. That's what God said. He said David was a man after his own heart. And so we see that in the way that David took care of the sheep. We see that in the words that David wrote whenever he was writing songs like prayers. And we also see that when we read the Bible and we see what kind of king David was. David was a good king. God going to send the true king, and that true king would be a descendant of David, a descendant. What does descendant mean? Descendant means to be related to someone else. Like, you are a descendant of your grandma and grandpa. You are a descendant of your mommy or your daddy. And so descendant means to come after somebody. So God told David that one of his descendants would be the king of all nations. Who is this? Who is this descendant? Well, boys and girls, we've been talking about Jesus this whole time. Oh, so exciting. We're getting closer and closer and closer to reading Jesus's birth story. So I hope you enjoyed today's story. Thank you, Miss Fran, for reading to us. And boys and girls, happy Thanksgiving. See you next week.